Hello. I'm so happy to be here today. First time speaking at an arena, so this is so exciting. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing anything in Spanish. It might be actually good because you mostly won't understand, but okay, don't worry. I'm not here to share nothing bad today, but actually to share a bit of the insights and what I have found useful in my day-to-day work. I'm an SEO consultant. I have a consultancy. I love to share my findings, good or bad, too. I have published a book in Spanish. Actually, if any of you speaking Spanish, speak Spanish, and would like to read my book, just reach me afterwards, and I would love to share a copy of it, a digital copy of it. So just let me know. I'll be delighted. And I actually do this on my day-to-day basis. I speak a lot, and I love to share, and a lot of people think that I do this for a living, but actually I do this for a living. I have clients to maximize the visibility and end up also maximizing profits at the end of the day. That's our goal, especially in retail, right? And this is the one thing. I went to SimilarWeb and checked specifically what is the importance of organic in retail in the UK, and found this. It's the second most important source of traffic at the moment. And usually, when checking analytics data with e-commerce integration, I find also that is the channel that drives much more profitability, with a critical role also as a conversion path in general. And I have gone through many researches and surveys out there, sometimes to make points to my clients too. This is quite funny. It's not only Aleyda who says that, but all of these people, right? And in every survey nowadays, you will find that all of these companies consider e-commerce platforms criteria that really need to include SEO features, which is amazing for me. This is ideal, that SEO feature optimization, flexibility, capacity is assessed and taken into consideration. However, when I also go and try to look for information about the most painful issues independently of the platform, I find that there are some very evident ones that even users end up realizing that they exist, and these are there, right? So what's the problem here? The problem is that this is not trivial. It's not something that you can fix, well, in a way that is quite easy because there's no competition. You have like very strong competition in the UK too. So what do? How you can improve and be able to compete with these people here? And I can imagine that these are not a surprising list here. This is not a surprising list. We have Amazon, eBay, Gumtree, Argos, John Lewis, which carries IKEA, ASOS, Etsy, Next. Not surprising list, right? Like these little sites that you need to compete with for many of your categories, even if you have a niche e-commerce website, right? So whenever I talk to clients at the end of the day, they come from, many of them, from the retailing mindset. And they are like, okay, it's great that you advise us all this and recommend all this, and you can get in touch with our content team or marketing team and development team and develop of these actions and to improve our visibility. But in order to be able to gain support, to get flexibility, resources, availability also of much more opportunities, is key to come up with certain principles of retail that they will understand and easily apply and much more easily support in general. So here are a few of these principles that help me on a day-to-day basics and with very actionable tips and a process that I usually follow with them. And the first is connect by targeting your audience wizards and pain points when purchasing. And we go too crazy, I believe, when trying to rank #1 and to be the best with certain queries, certain terms, much more targeted towards conversion sometimes, purely targeted towards conversion when it comes to e-commerce. Too much, I will say. It's not easy, of course, because you will end up ranking with all of these people here, not necessarily the less competitive, less authoritative website with tons of fresh content, user-generated content, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. So a much more reasonable approach, I will say, is to diversify and try to connect, first, to understand the behavior that our actual users have, and then to connect with them at every path, at every level, at every opportunity, when they are deciding to buy in, and looking for support for the type of products that we offer. When they are looking for ideas, opinions, brand discovery, price, features comparison, looking for promos, coupons, product availability, there are so many different opportunities that we completely forget about by trying to be number one with some top topic out there. Also realizing that conversational queries are much more important nowadays. We have the Echo, we have Google Home, now even Apple is coming up with their own device, and the way that we search with this voice-based devices is completely different of how we necessarily will type for them too. And the first source of data that we can use to identify these patterns and come up with opportunities to connect and to identify the actual desires and queries and interests of our audience is with the data that we already have. For example, in the Google Search Console, instead of going through the Google Search Console, if you have the opportunity, I will say that you should try out homepage, because they connect with the Google Search Console, you can see, and they will come up with all the terms along many relevant metrics and data in order to identify opportunities and prioritize each one of them. You will have directly the terms there along the ranking page, instead of filtering out to be able to get the ranking page as you will need with the Google Search Console. You have it all there directly with the average position, impressions, clicks. And you can easily here answer questions like which terms across your top categories already generate high visibility and low click-through rate. Identify per country, product category, device also, ranking page, you can do that. Those that generate more visits but poorer conversions, or less visits and much better conversions, which you can do quite easily actually with SEO Monitor that integrates with the Google Search Console and Google Analytics. So for each query here, you will have your ranking, you will have the search volume, you will have the traffic, you will have the conversions generated and the actual profit there for each one of them. The ones giving more visibility and traffic through your competition also through desktop and mobile. You can go to Systrix and find that also for every single competitor for you, and go to the overlay, competition overlay of SEMrush, and identify those queries also that are providing much more opportunity already, visibility already on mobile and desktop to your competitors versus yours. In which ones do they all overlay that you want to avoid because it will have too many competitors? Which ones are just addressed by some of them and that you can definitely and want definitely target? This is amazing because it was, I think, a few days ago that SEMrush came up with their mobile filter for every country too. So you will be able also actually to segment all these queries per device. Because likely when I am in the sofa watching the TV, watching an ad, and I end up searching for something, there it will be a little bit different than when I am on my computer, when I have a rest on my office and start to searching for a few things to buy to. So you end up with this, with every category, subcategory, product, and all the type of filters that you can have, from branding to colors, pricing, sizes, material, collections, discounts, patterns, occasions. For each single one of them, you want to validate, go through them, and identify if there's real opportunities. Which are the queries, which are the patterns, which are the phrases that are generated for each one of them, which are the actual question. And I love that there are many more tools, like Keyword Finder in this case, that have a query question filter. Not only the typical phrase one and suggestion one, but the questions. What are the actual questions that are asked about your specific products that you can directly reply and address with your product pages, which are the ones that are being asked for in Amazon and eBay. These are top websites that are also driving tons of profits to third parties, not only to themselves, but to third parties as marketplaces and being their own platforms too. So you can identify them to tools like Keyword Tool.io. Are they different? Are they the same? Are they okay? Should you address the seasonality for each one of them and identify opportunities on the trends? When do you need to enable this content or not? And I love the ones that are generated for some Valentine's, like some Valentine's Day massacre. Maybe it's something that you want, maybe you don't want to optimize for that, some Valentine's category. However, you can come up with content ideas that you would like to promote and generate visibility and attract links with. And most importantly, when you verify and identify all these opportunities, you can also segment and see which are being actually searched from mobile devices and which are not, which is becoming much, much more important nowadays because we are going to move now to a mobile-first index. So which are those queries for which you need to create content from one device to another? So you are going to take all this intent context to connect with your content, identify which area and level of your site is relevant in each case, which format of content you should actually create to connect with the actual intention of the user. And we can come up with things like this that actually fulfill a need, resolve something, an issue, a pain, a problem, a question of your audience. Like right here, top 10 essentials of a backpacking checklist. And you will say, it's like this is an informational type of content, a resource, evergreen resource, that people is going to search for. They are not necessarily in this buying mode. Interestingly enough, they are linking directly to product pages or category pages like this. So they will drive traffic, and they will end up sending link popularity to these pages on one hand, and then on the other. If at some point you end up finding this resource as useful, it will be much easier for you to go and look directly to the pages or categories that you know are linked directly from the resource. So it's pretty much straightforward. Also, coming up with content, because you will say, oh, Aleyda, this is a piece of cake, doing the research. I know that I need to generate content for all of this. The problem is, how do I do that? This is painful with e-commerce websites too. So I will say, rule your offering by a supply and demand principle. What's the purpose of having millions of index pages if they're not visited? And this is a typical scenario that I find in every single website, especially e-commerce, that I do an audit for. URLs included by default in an XML sitemap, so are not internal linked, for example, orphan pages. Different type of URL structure, with or without categories, with IDs, without IDs, for the same products, for the same levels, by many platforms, which I won't name, but we all know about. In most e-commerce platforms, this happens due to an excess of pages generated by the CMS, like this. And when you crawl with any of the SEO crawls, you will find this type of graphic. A lot of categories that are overlaid. Categories and subcategories that end up featuring very similar information, and that are actually targeting the same type of behavior. And it's not true. I mean, take a look, category, subcategory, about accessories and hair accessories, mostly the same information. I cannot differentiate in this case. A standardized type of organization too. Very similar products that are not differentiated and cannibalize each other too. Do I really need to see all these different colors of watches with a single indexable page like this, and that is optimized like this with this type of patterns in the titles that don't really differentiate them? Indexing internal searches also target the same queries and categories too, instead of canonicalizing and driving and referring to the actual original navigation that will solve my issue and will drive me to a consistent navigation navigation experience that you really want to your users. Featuring the exact same content than many other sites, which also is very common. And a lot of people, oh, but this is how they send me the feed. My provider sent me this feed. So it's like the same content than tons, millions, thousands of other sites like this. Many of them very well authoritative too. So it's key to crawl and check how much of this content is unique and shared per page, internally and externally. I love this tool, SafeCount, that not only validates internal usage of duplication and different levels of duplications of content, but also externally with many other websites out there, a little bit like Copyscape. What about your mobile pages too? Again, we're moving to a mobile index, mobile first index. So we need to identify. It's like amazing that you are featuring all this content in your desktop version, but when we switch to the mobile one, take a look. No content there. Surprise, surprise. Let's be careful with this. So it's critical to crawl again and validate with a smartphone crawler too. And follow this rule. This is the rule that I will follow to verify and validate every time that the effort of create content that is actually useful, that connect with the real interest and pain of my audience is actually profitable for me. Is it search enough? This specific filter, this facet, this category, this level is actually search or not? Are there enough searches to already compensate for me, create unique specific content for this page and the effort of publishing this content? Yes or no? For many critical pages, much more important pages here, which have already traffic and that play an important role in the conversion path, that answer there will be right away yes. It is profitable. It should be profitable. So let's prioritize these pages, of course, and develop category and product pages that actually perform the role of a salesperson. Is there an offer for this product? Is it available or not? Are there many colors? What other people is buying? How can I complement this product? How does it compare to others? Does it solve this or that problem? What other people end up finding? How people think, what people think about it. It's also a moment to reorganize the content to actually fulfill and connect with the intent of the user. We cannot show the same organization for categories and subcategories, but we should do what Amazon does. A homepage for generic terms, generic topics, top-level categories, a listing for sub-level categories when we are actually going through the same type of products and certain ranges of it to end up buying that in the product pages. I bought the lack of correspondence between the query and content level and type. And you will say, this is amazing. Amazon is ranking already here, position 3rd, right? Yes, but it's ranking for these generic queries of backpacks with wheels for traveling with a product page instead of a category one. I want to be able to compare with others. And this is happening because, again, it's a huge website that has tons of content, but it's not necessarily well connected with the actual intent of the user. So we can take that opportunity too, because big players also fall into this issue. Featuring useful and attractive descriptions, information. How beautiful is the page for the Amazon Echo from Argos? This is a top-level hot page that I really love, that really can end up performing well and competing with the one of Amazon. The barber page, brand pages of e-commerce websites for which we actually want to target and attract visibility with. Make it worth it, make it attractive, make it even better than from the actual brand one. Providing comparisons too, because you want to compare. You won't end up buying without comparing, and that's true. But in this case, especially when these are complex products, like tech products, you can see that a lot of these comparisons are being featured and that are being ranked, are being featured in tech blogs. They are not being featured in the actual e-commerce websites here, or branded websites, which is sad because at the end of the day, you don't control your own brand for this type of queries, where you really want to show that you're the best versus your competition. Create yourself these pages. Identify which are the search results for which all the type of formats are being shown, and not only feature these formats on your own site, but publish them in Amazon if you want to rank very well with them and get this type of visibility like the one that the HeroCam has. Or if you have images, Pinterest is another big driver, and that consistently ranked #1 for all this type of image targeted focus queries. So you should also publish your content there. And refer from your internal search results to your category one without indexing them. You don't want this type of duplication or cannibalization, and give this inconsistent type of navigation or experience to your users. Don't use canonical tags for this, because it's a way to really waste your crawl budget. Instead, it's much better to control this at a linking level, obfuscating these links. That can be an option, so they are not crawlable at all, not findable at all. Or by the way that you generate these URLs, in this case using hash, so these are not independently crawlable URLs. Link consistently to your most important categories, subcategories, and product family. For me, these are families. Each page should link to their siblings, parents, children, referring to the closer family, which will semantically help the connection of each one of these pages and facilitate that Google really understand their meaning and concepts, and will also drive and provide a consistent navigation to the user, prioritizing also based on identified trends and leveraging high seasonality here. Like, for example, Next is doing this already for Father's Day. Establishing rules for expired products and campaigns, because publishing is very easy. Generate it, link it, generate XML sitemaps once again. But when these are gone, what do? You need to ask if this is permanent or not. If this is permanent, you should 301 redirect to parent categories or main offer category if it is a campaign for a specific offering. Or keep if this is temporary, keep the page until it becomes available again. I love how Overstock does this very well, allowing the user to actually register, to get an alert whenever the product comes back again available. This is amazing. It will show also related products and provide the opportunity to continue buying, and provide the option also to get an alert when the product comes back to stock. Don't do this, of course. This is what we really want to avoid. And you will tell me, oh, Aleyda, this, do these brands actually do this? And we can see how very well, for example, in this way, Amazon does with Black Friday, and how they will update the year from their content, in their title, in this case, every time. So these are evergreen pages, continuously updated pages that they leverage and they consistently capitalize from, especially from a linking perspective. Take a look at websites like H&M, for example. The amount of links that pages are returning 404s here. This one, for example, that they had to enable and publish for Coachella, the festival, music festival. H&M loves Coachella, not so much, 404 HTTP status. Missed opportunities. These are the opportunities that big guys does, and that you can definitely capitalize from. Attract your customers' attentions to bring them in. A lot of actual retail stores there do it like this. And you can also do it from the SERPs with SERP features. SEMrush, they released this a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago, I believe, the SEMrush sensor that actually show you, besides the activity in every listings for every country and industry, the search features usage in each one of them. So you can see the percentage of listings that are showing the different type of features, from images to structured snippets, so feature snippets with structured data. You can end up having this type of results to maximize this type of visibility, to attract the user, to bring them in from your stores. You can already see which are the queries that are providing this type of visibility on your site at the moment with the Google Search Console. But actually, this is great already, but you can go to SEO Monitor to identify which are the SERPs for which you are already ranking that are showing this type of feature snippets for which you are not yet ranking, and for which you will have already a good opportunity to be featured at if you, for example, restructure your content with structured data, or you organize it differently with tables, for example, to get featured on answers. The one already also giving visibility to your competition. Again, SEMrush can show us this, as well as Systrix. You can go and see and take a look which are the ones for which they are being already ranked, and how good they are being very ranked already. Prioritize those of structured data accordingly based on the content that you have availability to feature and publish, especially products, review, videos, images, of course. You can validate directly the implementation with the Google Search Console and the structured data tool which should be pretty straightforward, and maximize your visibility, even if the competition that you have is Amazon. I love how here all of the different competitors are featuring Snippets, but Amazon, and even Argos is ranking above them. That means something too. So many opportunities, so little time. I could speak much more about mobile optimization on e-commerce, which is much more and more important every day. Speed optimization, AMP, we can expect a lot from this coming, especially. It's already hard on media. It is already, many of these features are already being developed, and many functionalities are already supported, so we can expect much more of this. And the final goal should be here. Improve the profitability that we can see many more SEO transactions and SEO-based revenue. Thank you.